This is Golf Talk Canada, Canada's only national golf talk radio and TV program. Presented by TaylorMade and the all-new Stealth Driver with a red carbon face for better energy transfer and more ball speed. Welcome to the Carbon Age. Now, here are your hosts, Mark Zecchino, Bob Weeks, and Adam Scully.
And good morning, golf fans. Welcome inside another edition of Golf Talk Canada. Adam Scully and Bob Weeks along with you. We're on TSN 1050 until noon today. You can also watch us on TSN 2 as we'll be on radio, on TV this week, next week, and the following week as we recap the FedEx Cup playoffs. Fun to be here back in studio on TV. Mark will be along in about half an hour. He is going through the traveling circus right now. It seems like he's everywhere. He was with PGA Tour Radio at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Saw quite a finish yesterday as well. So we'll be joined by Mark Zecchino a little later in the show. We'll also be joined, Bob, by Bill Price, who I spoke to him recently about the high toe 3 wedges from TaylorMade, and we'll be giving away a couple of those later tonight on 20 weeks of TaylorMade too. So lots going on in the world of golf. But for you, Bob, did you get any golf in this weekend?
I did. I got a chance to play up in cottage country. I was a guest of some friends. We were up at a cottage, so we played at Muskoka Highlands. Beautiful course. I'm going to use part of that course in my Winter's Weird and What coming up a little bit later on today. But yeah, it was nice. How about you?
I did. I got a couple of rounds in. Nice that, last weekend it was hot. It was steamy. But this was, 25, 26 degrees Celsius. Not much humidity. The wind was up. It was a beautiful weekend for golf. And I noticed, too, and I'm sure you'll get to this in your 3-dub as well, you posted a social media photo with a dog. So did you have a caddy? Was your dog or a dog a caddy?
No, we had a dog that just walked around. It's dog friendly. There's lots of dogs on the golf course. This will be, as you say, a little bit later on. I won't spoil it all. But yeah, no, it's a really cool cottage country course. Good shape. Greens were really, really good shape. Mm-hmm. And fun to play, and I had a great time up there. But yeah, dogs play for free.
Dogs play for free. Okay, I'm actually heading to Muskoka a little later this week too, and going to get out at Deerhurst. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting to cottage country. But so much to get to in our show today. Winners, Weird, and What a little later in the show. Like I mentioned, 20 weeks of TaylorMade. But first, let's hit some news and headlines.
News and headlines are brought to you by Sandbagger Hard Seltzer. Sandbagger. Everybody knows one.
Okay, Bob, we'll get to the first leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs momentarily. Will Zalatoris finally getting off the schneid, getting that first career PGA Tour victory. But first, some Canadian content. Monet Chun at Chambers Bay, the U.S. Women's Amateur, comes up just short, losing in the final to Saki Baba, who had a remarkable performance, winning 11 and 9 in a 36-hole championship final. But how about the performance by Canadian Monet Chun, making it this far to the final of the U.S. Women's Amateur?
And yes, despite the blowout in the final, she was very impressive throughout the whole run here. She, in fact, I think going into that final, I don't think she'd only gone once past the 16th hole, and that was in a playoff, I think, in the semifinals, where she went to an extra hole to win. But she was playing great golf, very steady golf, just kind of wear people down. And then, unfortunately, in the final, the wheels kind of came off, and that was sad to see. But still, she gets a few benefits. She gets a spot in next year's U.S. Women's Open for finishing as runner-up, which is great. And she's had a heck of a summer. She won the Big Ten Championship. She plays for University of Michigan. She also won the Canadian Women's Amateur just a few weeks ago back at Westmount Golf Club. So she's had a really good performance. Congratulations to making it to the final. Only the 4th Canadian ever get there. The other 3 are pretty good quality too. It's Marlene Street, Kathy Shirk, and Brooke Henderson.
And does she get into the CP Women's Open too?
She does get into the CP Women's Open. She'll be there next week.
And I guess she would have gotten that actually from winning the Canadian Amateur.
That's right.
Okay. So what a performance this was. And, like you mentioned, she's had a very good summer too. And I'm guessing she'll take tons of confidence heading into the CP Women's Open, which I know you'll be there. It'll be headlined by Brooke Henderson. The crowds are going to be unbelievable. Can't wait to see that. But Monet Chun's going to go in with a lot of momentum.
She is. And I think the one thing to remember about Monet is about a couple of years ago, she basically pulled herself out of competitive golf. She was still trying to figure out golf, but she just stayed at home, worked on her swing, kind of rebuilt herself as a golfer, and then went off to the University of Michigan. And the rest, as we said, is just quite a string of successes she's had since that happened.
Totally, and they were playing at Chambers Bay. Now, Chambers Bay, to a lot of people in the golf world, now recent memory, of course, will think back to that 2015 U.S. Open, where there was a lot going on. That was the first time Fox had the coverage. They were trying some new things. Their scoreboard wasn't working on, watching it on TV. And they lost the greens. The USGA, they lost the greens. Billy Horschel said it was putting on broccoli. There's a lot of, sort of guys making fun of these greens. You were there in person back in 2015. Having seen some of the coverage this past weekend, compare and contrast to what it was 7 years ago, this looked like a totally different property. Yeah,
well, they redid all the greens, and they've changed a few other of the holes, actually made it a little bit different, but it's still the same kind of basic layout, and it's a beautiful piece of property. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. It kind of rises up to a top level and then comes back down. Remember, they had the one hole that they switched it up. One day it was a par 4, 18, the next day it was a par 5. Mm-hmm. I also remember that was the day when that was the tournament where Jason Day had the vertigo.
Yes,
and he was
the Friday afternoon.
Yeah, very strange scenario. I remember walking around with him, and after he hit, he kept bending down to pick up his tee, and I kept saying, who cares about your tee? Just to have 18 tees or get your caddy to pick it up. Every time he bent over, he'd just stand up and he'd wobble around. And I do remember another press conference, too, where the greens had actually turned almost white. Yeah. And so somebody said to Henrik Stenson, is it like putting on broccoli? And he said, no, it's white, so it's more like cauliflower. So just the weird things that stand out in my memory from that tournament.
Well, and if that tournament as well will always be remembered by Jordan Spieth winning his second straight major, and Dustin Johnson giving that away. And during that time when DJ 3-putted from 10 feet, when he had a great chance to make that eagle on the 72nd hole, and that was back when the U.S. Open was still an 18-hole playoff on the Monday. And I'm sure, everyone watching, myself included, selfishly on TV, was hoping for that 18th hole playoff. Everyone in the media is like, no, we want to go home.
That's right. We did have that. We were all kind of praying for something to break that we wouldn't get that. I've been to an 18-hole playoff years ago, and it was the wildest. Sort of everyone scrambling to rebook their flights, check into their hotel rooms for one more night, and everything. It was quite the scramble to do it. And for the tournament itself, unselfishly, and I'm talking selfishly about us and the media, but you have to get all your volunteers, you have to keep everybody around, you have to delay the teardown. It's a huge task, so they've done a good job by changing it now.
Would that have been the one at 08 at Torrey Pines? Were you at that one?
I was at that one as well. I forgot about that one, actually. Was that one, and I was at one with Retief Goosen.
Oh, when Monty wore all black and it was like 100 degrees Fahrenheit?
No, this one was at Oklahoma. Tulsa. Where were we? Yeah.
Southern Hills?
Southern Hills.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah. It was Retief Goosen won that one.
There you go. Well, Chambers Bay looked great on TV. Again, congrats to Monet Chun. It's been a remarkable summer of Canadian golf, and hopefully that'll continue here on the men's side. The women's, Brooke Henderson, historic, incredible golf. Monet Chun doing what she has done, and maybe we'll see the men now step it up here. We have 4 Canadians heading into the second leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs. We'll get into the Canadians on the other side, but first we have to talk about Will Zalatoris, because this is a guy who already has 3 runner-ups in the major championships, played a lot of great golf, and he finally gets it done, finally gets off the schneid. And for a guy who has been one of the great ball strikers on tour, the putter has always been the question mark. We've seen the close-up video of that stroke from inside 3 feet, and there's a lot of movement. It's not common. It might give you the heebie-jeebies watching it, but it works for him. And coming down the stretch, he made a lot of clutch putts.
He did. Most of the time it works for him. We won't say all the time. Yes. Most of the time it works for him, but it is a funky little loop that it comes back outside and brings it back. And a lot of times when you see the close-ups, he's not really hitting the ball in the center of the club face.
Like the toe.
Yeah, exactly. But third playoff this year. And so to get it done finally and win, I think it's huge. And you could see the relief flowing out of him, the few tears there. He was hugging his girlfriend on the playoff green. I think it was kind of a cool cool finish to it. It was a weird finish. It was a dramatic playoff. It was ups and downs. But that that final hole was just unbelievable what happened.
Well, it really was. And so for those who didn't see, the third playoff hole, a par 3, which I was almost going to make this a part of my 3-dub because at the start of it, so they played the 18th hole twice, which, I mean, they both made unbelievable pars, Sepp Straka and Zalatoris on the second playoff hole after Straka hit it on the left side, took a drop after he was standing in the water. Zalatoris hits the cart path on the right, was lucky to be in bounds. They both make these unbelievable pars. Then they go to this par 3 11th, and there's no one around. This must have been very far away from the 18th green. I mean, eventually the spectator showed up, and it was packed by the end of it. But this is, 160-yard par 3. Zalatoris hits this tee shot that lands on the slope just in front of the green, bounces on essentially like a wooden partition, if you will, a couple of times. Easily could have gone in the water, easily, and then sort of lands short, and it's in this little nook where the ball could go anywhere from there. And Sepp Straka, you think, okay, 35 feet long left, no, right in the water, lands short, bounces back in. And then Straka from the drop zone hits it into the back bunker, not the best shot. But for Zalatoris, what did you think of the decision to not play it from that sort of weird spot where he could have hit it anywhere from there, correct?
That's what I think. I think that there was really almost no shot there, to be perfectly honest with you. I think he made the right move, and it makes it a little easier after Straka's put it in the water. But I think you're bang on. I mean, that was just a big. I mean, if he had to do it, if Straka had knocked it on there, I'm sure he would have tried to play it out of there. But I just don't think that there was any real shot there, almost, to be perfectly honest. It was wedged down below. It was
very deep, yeah.
Yeah, and he could have scooted across if he tried to sort of punch it out or something. You never know how it's going to come out of there. But I've never seen a ball bounce that way. When I hit it like that and the ball bounces on those areas close to the water, they always go in. They never stay out and dry, but good for him.
Yeah, really good for him. And how about the caddy, too? First week on the bag, Zalatoris and his longtime caddy split up. They said, time had just run out. It was getting into their friendship, everything going on the golf course. And first week on the bag and you could tell he was in Zalatoris' ear about, hey, Straka's here. Let's go back. You just got up and down on the whole previous from 94 yards. Yeah. Let's do it again. And what does Zalatoris do? He does it again. It was a lot of fun to watch. Zalatoris now moves to first in the FedEx Cup standings.
And it's funny to see, if you look, the Zalatoris and Sheffler, if you look, a good friend of ours, Case of the Golf, Monday qualifying guy, he goes out, and if you look, he posted a thing from 4 years ago. Will Zalatoris and Scotty Sheffler, who are right now 1 and 2 in the FedEx Cup standings, both missing a Monday qualifier on the Corn Ferry Tour 4 years ago. Now look at those two guys.
And before we go to break here, you mentioned they're 1 and 2. Zalatoris moves to first in the FedEx Cup standings. And I know the points quadruple for the playoffs, but is it still kind of weird that Zalatoris has 1 win and he's leading the FedEx Cup standings, and Scotty Sheffler has 4 and he's in second?
Yeah, if you look at the combination of Zalatoris' runner-ups, though, as well, putting those things in, and don't forget, it's not dollar value. We're talking it's FedEx Cup points. So there is a little bit of a gap there, obviously, but not quite as much as there is in the paycheck. So, yeah, probably a little bit, but they're not off by much, right? The Zalatoris has 36.80 in points, and Scheffler's got 35.56. Cam Smith is third. He's almost 1,000 points behind Sheffler. Mm-hmm. So they're way back there. So it's nose and nose at this point, but you're right. They both had good years, just shows you.
They both had good years, and Scotty Sheffler did miss the cut last week along with Rory Mcilroy. That's why Sheffler didn't have any points last week. But the second leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs gets underway this week. On the other side, we'll hear from Zalatoris, the relief after that victory, and we'll look at the Canadians, 4 in the mix heading into the second leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs. This is Golf Talk Canada.
This segment of GTC was presented by TaylorMade. TaylorMade and the all-new Stealth Driver with a red carbon face for better energy transfer and more ball speed. Welcome to the Carbon Age. This is Golf Talk Canada, presented by TaylorMade. This segment of GTC is brought to you by Caddy Time, the Uber-like app that allows golfers across Canada to find affordable, qualified caddies to any round. Visit caddytime.com. Download the app or talk to your PGA professional today.
Welcome back inside Golf Talk Canada. Adam Scully, Bob Weeks here in studio. TSN 1050. You can also watch us on TSN 2. We are radio on television this week, next week, and the following week as we recap each of the 3 legs of the FedEx Cup playoffs. And in the first leg at the FedEx St. Jude Championship, Will Zalatoris, win number 1. A long time coming for Will Zalatoris. You could tell too, Bob, especially after he made that putt in regulation on the 18th hole. Said something along the lines where you could read his lips. What are they going to say? What are they gonna say now is what he screamed. So you could tell he's been thinking about this and maybe taking some of the negativity perhaps from the media has been speaking about how he hasn't been able to get it done to finally get over the finish line.
Yeah, I think that he's probably listened to that. He's probably seen the replay slow motion of his putting stroke, and he's probably looked at the leaderboard time and time again and saw his name and, people now questioning him, and maybe the backhanded compliment of best player not to win a tournament this year. That all kind of feeds into it, and I'm sure drives him a little bit. I can remember watching him at the Masters one year, maybe 2 years ago. He played with Corey Connors, and I just loved the way he was so excited to go and hit the next shot. Like, he just loves to play golf, and I hope he doesn't lose that part. But I think, judging by what we saw on the emotion side, he's still very committed to the enjoyment of the game and just having so much fun and realizing his dreams.
Totally, and he moves to number 1 in the FedEx Cup standings. A big pot of gold on the line after the Tour Championship. Before we further discuss and recap the FedEx St. Jude Championship, let's hear from Will Zalatoris.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say about time when it's been your second year on tour, but about time. Obviously, this week was kind of a grind considering the start that I had. I love this golf course. I played well here last year. Considering all the close finishes that I've had this year, to finally pull it off it means a lot.
Definitely means a lot. And before we talk about some other players, have to mention this tweet from Tony Finau, one of the nicest guys in the PGA Tour, who is the hottest player on tour heading into last week's finish. And he had last week's tournament, I should say, had a great finish as well. He tweeted out, "Congrats, Will Zalatoris. His resilience is a testament to his character, and now he's a winner. He's been a rock-solid dude through all the noise, and I have so much respect for him because of that. Now watch him go. Bravo, dude." How about that from Tony Finau? The camaraderie between these guys is awesome.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's as we were saying before the break, it's been a short, quick rise for Will Zalatoris from missing Monday qualifiers on the Korn Ferry Tour to now winning on the PGA Tour in a playoff event, no less. And the summer he's had, really the last couple of years he's had, has been absolutely spectacular. But I think you're right, that one missing ingredient of that win, now he can finally put that to rest and probably not have to think about it. I'm sure when you get yourself in the hunt, you're probably sitting there going, is this the week? Is this the one when it's finally going to happen? And even though it was accomplished in a very strange and unusual playoff with back and forths and some strange shots, it's a win, and a win is a win.
A win is a win. Congratulations to Will Zalatoris. Great play as well by Sepp Straka, 4 rounds in the 60s. But one of the biggest movers, or the biggest mover, was Lucas Glover. And that is a cool thing about these FedEx Cup playoffs, is that, this is a guy, he hasn't had his best year by any means, but he moves 87 spots up the FedEx Cup standings to now, he finished tied for 3rd. Now he's sitting 34th and has a good chance to make it to the Tour Championship.
Lucas Glover is another guy who has played some great golf, but not so much lately. But this past year has been pretty good for him. Pretty solid season. He won, of course, that U.S. Open at Winged Foot a number of years ago, and he's just a really solid guy. I have a lot of time for Lucas. I've got to know him when he came up into Canada and played a skins game a number of years ago, and we've had some great chats over the years. And I like the way he approaches the game. Very relaxed on the outside, at least, but he's kind of churning on the inside. And nice to see him put a nice round together and get himself into the next round.
Yeah, he played very well on Sunday and throughout the weekend, 69-66 on the weekend for Lucas Glover. But we mentioned in our last segment 2 very notable players to miss the cut. Rory Mcilroy, who is now 9th, down 3 spots in the FedEx Cup standings, and Scotty Sheffler, who down 1 spot to number 2. You had Rory Mcilroy on your Edge team last week, so I know you didn't love to see him missing the cut. But, I mean, unexpected surprise given maybe the letdown from the Open Championship. And then he full out said last week in his press conference that he didn't touch a golf club, didn't see the inside of a gym, and didn't eat a vegetable for 2 weeks. He took some time off.
So if I'd known that, perhaps I might have picked someone a little bit different. But I do think that it was a surprise. And even for him, I think it was a surprise to miss the cut. Maybe not that he wasn't in contention, but to really, and he looked rusty. When you saw him play, there were some key shots that were missed. He had a couple of, if he had a couple of bit more putts drop in, there were some close ones here and there. But I just thought I didn't think he was terrible from what I saw. I just thought he was kind of blasé almost.
Little flat too, and I was actually writing the highlights for the PGA on Friday, and it was all about Rory. If Rory Mcilroy misses a cut, he misses a cut, and for a little bit, so he makes bogey on his last hole to finish at 1 under, and at that point it looked like no chance he's making the cut. And then it got pretty challenging for a 2-hour span, and the cut almost looked like it was going to drop to 1 under. And then Scotty Sheffler didn't do himself any good as well. He hit it into the water on his 9th hole, making a double bogey. Had a good run down the stretch, but both players missing the cut, but both players, Sheffler and McIlroy, still in the top 10. But from a Canadian side of things, we have 4 Canadians in the next leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Corey Connors at 29, Mackenzie Hughes at 52nd, Adam Hadwin 59th, Taylor Pendrith at 67. So clearly Corey Connors has the best chance to make the Tour Championship, but it's great to see 4 Canadians make it this far and all have a legitimate chance to make it to the Tour Championship.
Yeah, we had 6 that started off. That's the record, and I'm confident in saying that this is probably, I haven't checked it, but I'm pretty confident saying that we've probably have it. This is probably equal to or the record for the second to last, because there used to be 4. Now there's only 3 playoff events. And it's great to see these guys playing some decent golf. Now, they all didn't play great, but I thought it was nice to see Mac Hughes, who was playing his first tournament after being reunited with his lost golf equipment from the Open Championship, put up some good numbers. And Taylor Pendrith, again, is a guy, he could do a Lucas Glover this week. He's one of those guys who could just go out there and find his groove and go deep and perhaps get himself up the leaderboard and move on. It's going to be tough for these guys, other than Corey, to try and make it to the final at Eastlake, but you never know.
There's always the math involved, and for these guys, Pendrith at 67, Hadwin 59, Hughes 52nd, top 30, make it to the Tour Championship. You would think they'll need, for Pendrith, he'll need probably, you'd think, a top 5 finish and some help probably too, right?
Probably, yeah. Probably maybe even top 3, but he'd need a big week, obviously, to try and jump up there. Even the other guys, even Hadwin at 59, and Hughes is at 52, so they're not really, they've got a lot of ground to make up, and you really have to put something special together. But as they say, there's a chance.
And Mackenzie Hughes he's been here before. He's done this before. That 2020 BMW Championship, which turned into the U.S. Open, it was incredibly challenging. And as Hughes put it himself, the gnarly up and down he had to make after hitting a great tee shot into this fairway on his 72nd hole. He knew exactly where he stood, and then he just dumped a wedge into the front right bunker, got it up and down. We know what the accolades, everything that comes when you make the Tour Championship. So motivation will be high, not only to make the Tour Championship, but for the President's Cup as well. We'll discuss the International President's Cup team rankings later on in the show. As of right now, Corey Connors is at number 6. Top 6 automatic qualifiers, of course. Adam Hadwin is at 11. Mackenzie Hughes at 13. Taylor Pendrith all the way to 20th now on the International President's Cup standings. So you never know. It'd be incredible to see 4 Canadians make it. Chances aren't amazing for that, but you can hope, you can pray. That'd be incredible. But good for the Canadians making it this far. 4 in the mix this week at the BMW Championship. On the other side, Mark Zecchino will join us to recap the FedEx St. Jude Championship. He was there on location for PGA Tour Radio, and he sent me a text. He wants to tell a story where he fell out of Roger Maltby's golf cart. Uh-oh. I'm looking forward to hearing about this. I'm not sure what's going to come of it, but we'll hear that story and much more on the other side. This is Golf Talk Canada.
This segment of GTC, presented by TaylorMade, was brought to you by Caddy Time, the Uber-like app that allows golfers across Canada to add affordable, qualified caddies to any round. Visit caddytime.com. Download the app or talk to your PGA professional today. This is Golf Talk Canada, presented by TaylorMade. This segment of GTC is brought to you by WeatherTech Canada, Canada's leader in automotive accessories.
Welcome back inside Golf Talk Canada. Adam Scully, Bob Weeks here in studio, recapping the FedEx St. Jude Championship, FedEx Cup playoffs, and much more. Coming up a little later in the show as well, we'll take a look at the President's Cup standings because that's just around the corner too. Love team events. Of course, the last time the President's Cup was held in Australia, Royal Melbourne, the Internationals gave the U.S. quite a scare where Tiger Woods was the playing captain, and that was, of course, the year he won the Masters and won the Zozo Championship that year too, and he put on an absolute clinic, winning that turn or helping the U.S. win, and that was so much fun to see. So we'll talk about the President's Cup a little later in the show because a number of Canadians have a good chance to be on that squad, at least one and hopefully two or three. But Will Zalatoris did take home his first career PGA Tour victory. And to discuss that and much more, now joining us is Mark Cicchino, who was on location at PGA Tour Radio, the FedEx St. Jude Championship, and is on the road again. Mark, first of all, welcome to the show. And where are you right now in the world?
I am near Louisville, Kentucky, trying to make my way home.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
There you go.
3 weeks in a row, Scully. 3 weeks in a row has kicked my butt. Listen, if it was the West Coast swing and we were kicking off a new year, I did, I think, 5 or 6 in a row earlier this year. But at the end of the year, the FedEx Cup, it's been a long season, and 3 in a row is a lot. But I'm glad to be headed home. It was an amazing week in Memphis, just absolutely incredible. And but thanks for holding down the fort, and I'll be back in with you guys next week and take this season home and hand out a FedEx Cup in a few weeks.
Well, and as of right now, Will Zalatoris is the favorite at number 1 in the FedEx Cup standings to take it home. Given the summer he's had, given the start of his PGA Tour career that he's had, this is a long time coming for Zalatoris, as he was arguably the best player not to have a PGA Tour victory. What were some of your takeaways from that victory yesterday?
Well, I think you could tell, I think, what did he say when he made one of those real huge 10-footers on the 18th green? I think he looked back and he screamed at his caddy, what are they going to say now? And I think he's referring to, the narrative on his putting, that he doesn't putt good enough to win. He's got to be a better putter. And boy, did he hit some clutch putts coming down the stretch to grab this win. So, if it wasn't Will Zalatoris, it was Will Zalatoris and Cameron Young as the 2 best players on the tour without a victory. And now Cameron Young, in my opinion, just kind of stands alone there by himself because Zalatoris, obviously a huge win, too. To do it in the playoffs, to do it in that environment, with so much on the line, it was a lot. It was exceptional. They hit so many clutch shots coming down the stretch and in the first 2 playoff holes. I was so shocked, Scully, at the tee balls at 11. Even especially Straka's. You've got Zalatoris. He's inside the hazard. He's inside the penalty area. You don't know what he's got. Ends up that he had to go back to the drop zone, just like you did. How do you hit that golf ball right of the flag at 11 if you're Sepp Straka? That golf ball has to be 20, 30 feet left of that flag to putt for the win. Other than that one mental error from Sepp Straka, and maybe the fatigue got to him, it was getting to everybody out there, including the broadcast teams. It was hot. It was a long week. You wonder if fatigue was starting to set in and if he just had a mental lapse. I don't think it was nerves. I really don't with Straka, because if there was nerves that were going to come into play, it would have come into play in the second playoff hole where he had to take a drop, considered taking off his shoes, didn't do it, stuffed it in there to 7 feet, made a par when he needed to extend it. So I don't believe it was nerves. I believe the fatigue got to Straka. But at the end of the day, from a Zalatoris standpoint, I wonder if this is a bit of a David Duval scenario. You remember back, I believe the year was 99 off the top of my head. And David Duval had a string of second-place finishes, top fives, top tens, and he was the Will Zalatoris of the PGA Tour. And all of a sudden, he got his first win. And he got the first win. Next thing you know, the door caved in, and he was number one in the world. And you wonder if this is what's coming for Zalatoris. Should he be the favorite this week as we head to the BMW?
Mark, two guys at the top of the FedEx Cup standings now, Will Zalatoris, Scotty Sheffler. I'm not sure if you saw the tweet by a Case of the Golf Monday qualifying. Our friend Ryan, he posted up that 4 years ago this week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, Zalatoris and Sheffler both missed a Monday qualifier on the Corn Ferry Tour. These guys have come so far so quickly. How impressive is it to see these two guys who are 1 and 2 in the FedEx Cup standings? Having it, I guess it kind of shows you how thin the margin is between making it and not quite making it, and now making it and winning.
It's the lines, like the fractions are unbelievable. Like even last week when we were watching that top 125 at Sedgefield Country Club, and someone's going to miss the playoffs by 0.005. I'm like, hold on a second. We just played 44, 45 events season with 4 majors of players, Canadian Open, Scottish Open, all these great events. And you're telling me your season has come down to a fraction of maybe 1 4-footer that you might have missed 6 weeks ago? I mean, it's crazy to think that way, but it's that fine. But Bob, I think, to your point, you and I guess it would have been 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, we probably sat around that same desk and we said, wow, you don't wait until you're 32 anymore to win on the PGA Tour. These guys come out more prepared than they did, 20 years ago when we first started getting involved in the sport. And you had to wait till you were like 31 and 32 to start winning on the PGA Tour. Now we fast forward 5 years from that conversation that you and I probably had about 5, 6 years ago. And now it's not just you have to wait. Not only is it not you have to wait until you're in your early 30s, now it's you've come out so young, so ready, and you're ready to dominate. It's not just you feel like you belong. It's like, look inside the top 20 in the world, the top 10 in the world, how quickly these guys vault onto the scene, to your point. And it's such a fine line, and the game is so strong. You can go to any tour anywhere in the world and find a guy who is one thought away from a 58 and a victory on any tour. It's just mind-boggling to me how good these guys are and how fast it happens. It's fun to watch. It was a great week to kick off the playoffs. I mean, you can't not to open another door and go in a direction, but all joking aside, I mean, you can throw as much money as you want on that. You can't buy that. You cannot buy what we got to watch and be a part of this weekend. I mean, no one is standing there over that 10-footer in that heat of battle like that, and no one's thinking about money. Everybody is thinking. Will Zalatoris wanted to be a winner on the PGA Tour. It has been eating away at him. Doesn't want to answer. I have to answer the questions anymore. Doesn't want to answer questions about his putting anymore. He was not standing there thinking about money. He was standing there thinking about, I want to shut everybody up. I want to be a winner, and I want to change the narrative on the future of my career. And boy, did he ever.
In conversation with Mark Zecchino, recapping the FedEx Cup playoffs, first leg at the FedEx St. Jude Championship, previewing the BMW Championship as well. But Mark, you mentioned something there. That's right where I was going, because Paul Azinger had that comment right at the end of the NBC broadcast that was also on TSN, where he said, I can tell you there's no amount of guaranteed money that can buy what he's feeling right now. Mark, it's safe to say that was Zinger with a zinger of his own. What do you think of what he said there?
Well, it's funny you bring him up like that, Adam, too, because yesterday morning I had a coffee with Paul in the media area, our catering area in the TV compound. And the conversation was not about Zalatoris at first. We ended the conversation with Zalatoris. The majority of the conversation was, what if Cam Smith goes out and wins this? This is it's just not good for the tour. Now, Cam Smith can He has the freedom to do whatever he wants. And if he chooses to go to LIV, so be it. I don't like the lawsuits. I don't like we want our cake and eat it too. LIV's not for me. You guys know how I feel about it, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have the personal choice to go do that. That being said, if a guy's getting ready to bolt from the PGA Tour and leave directly to this disruptive giant, immediately following the season, what would it look like for the PGA Tour to, have their FedEx Cup champion, a week after we hand out the FedEx Cup to go to LIV? It's just not I don't think it's a good thing for the PGA Tour. It might help their court case a little when LIV claims that they've got a monopoly. I think it kind of pops an air in that. I'm not a lawyer, but it sure pops an air in the common sense balloon when it comes to that argument. But then we didn't even know Cam Smith was being assessed that 2-stroke penalty yet. To be honest with you, we thought he was starting the day at 11 under. But then the narrative shifted to Zalatoris and his putting between 5 to 10 feet, and how I think we as the PGA Tour and golf needed one of the big names to step up and grab the trophy on Sunday. And Zalatoris' name was the one that kind of came to the tip of both of our tongues, and it was all about his putting from 5 to 10 feet. If he could just make some of those, because he was great inside 5 feet all week. There was nothing flinchy about his stroke. He didn't miss little putts. He just didn't make those ones you needed to make. And boy, did he slam the door on that. I mean, in that range on Sunday and in the playoff, it was spectacular. And don't kid yourselves. I mean, we're not supposed to be rooting, but in the current environment out there right now, the us versus them, there isn't a single person on that property not rooting for Zalatoris and the guys they know that have, the guys that have stood up and said, I'm staying with the tour. I want to be a part of the PGA Tour. I don't want anything to do with this. There is definitely a big rooting push of support for those guys.
All right, let's deal with Cameron Smith on another level. He did get that penalty, and it seemed, when you look at the highlight, it looks pretty clear. And the LIV thing aside, I don't think they penalized him any extra. Someone suggested to me this morning about the fact that, maybe they were just trying to get him. But do you think there should be a statute of limitations, a time limit on when these things can happen, especially now that we're talking about all the wagering that goes on golf and the partnerships that the PGA Tour and has with several of those? Do you think there has to be some kind of finality, the end of the round or the start of the next round or something along those lines? Do you think that was a little out of whack?
I do, Bob. I mean, did he break the rule? Yes, it was clear in the footage. He did not take full relief. You have to take full relief. I get it. Did what he did, give him a competitive advantage to hit that shot? No. If that golf ball's 1 inch left or 1 inch outside that line, it doesn't change the competitive advantage of that shot in terms of, did he cheat to give himself an advantage? No. So I agree with you. I think that, unless it is something the tour needs to kind of almost create a secondary level of rules to say, was this clearly cheating to create an advantage? Like, is this a Patrick Reed rule? You know what I mean? Like, did he scrape the sand behind the ball to give himself, the opportunity to hit a fairway metal or hybrid out of a fairway bunker? If it's something like that with the intent for a competitive advantage, maybe I'm not so tied up with there needs to be a limit on the time, because there's bad intentions there, and the game doesn't need that. But what we're talking about here with Cam Smith, I hear exactly what you're saying. And maybe I can't have my cake and eat it too. Maybe I need to just have a line in the sand and say, okay, well, once in a while, now that Patrick Reed's not on the PGA Tour, we probably don't have to worry about this anymore. So we could probably just draw a line in the sand and say, at the end of the competitive round of that day, once the last ball is in the hole, however they word it, Bob, I kind of like what you're saying, because I'm not a fan of you sign for 11 under, everybody goes to bed, you wake up the next day. I grabbed my pairing sheet at 9:30 in the morning, and my pairing sheet at 9:30 a.m., my official PGA Tour pairing sheet document, had him at 11 under par. So, I mean, I'm with you. I like what you're saying. Let's put a time limit on it. I would be open to that little gray area if you guys know where I'm going with that. But yeah, in the spirit of what Bob's saying, I think it's 1,000%.
Well, and another example of this, a couple of years back, the 2013 Masters, second round, Tiger Woods, 15th hole, hits a shot, goes and hits the flagstick, spins back into the water, and then no one thinks of anything. He, takes a drop, a couple of paces back from where his divot was, gets up and down for what he thinks is a 6, then speaking to the media afterwards, then he admitted basically that he broke a rule without actually knowing he admitted he broke a rule. That caused so much controversy back in 2013. So there are so many interesting sort of persnickety rules of golf, some would say. But yeah, this was just flat out weird on Cameron Smith's part. Mark, before we let you go, you sent me a text about Roger Maltby and a golf cart. A, are you okay? And B, tell us the story.
I got to tell you guys, if I had to golf today, I couldn't golf. It's my right hip. It's so sore. It hasn't turned black yet, but I think in a day or two that this hip could turn like purple. Not Roger's fault. He's awesome. He was so cool to give me a lift. We were out there. It was such a long week. Everybody was fatigued, so I was a little kind of out of it. In the playoff, when we moved to 11, the gallery, thousands of people just kind of swallowed you up, and you couldn't take your golf cart anywhere, right? So I had to run from the 18th green to the 11th green through crowds, and it was nuts. I got to the 11th, I made my call, but I was feeling it, and I was a little kind of out of it. Probably needed a bottle of water, yada, yada, yada. Making my way back to the TV compound, and everybody's exiting the property at the same time. So it looks like you're leaving a U2 concert in the late 80s from Exhibition Stadium, right? It's like everybody's funneling into these spots and you can't move. And all of a sudden I see Roger and his cart driver. They go, "Hey, Mark, hop on." Thank you guys. Super kind. So I get a lift back. We get to the TV compound. I think the cart is coming to a stop. I'm kind of my equilibrium's not 100%. I go to step off, ass over tea kettle, boys. I went down so hard in the TV compound. It was, and you're so embarrassed. You do the immediate hop up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm okay. Nothing to see here. I wasn't bleeding, thank God. But my hip, instantly, I go, oh my, I thought I broke something. Knock on wood, did not break something, but I'm supposed to play golf at the end of the week. I got my fingers crossed that maybe by Wednesday, Thursday, this feels a bit better. But, I mean, it's funny now, though. Afterwards, I was laughing about it. The embarrassment is still worse than the pain.
Well, Mark, I have one word for you. RICE. Rest, ice, compress, elevate. That's some exercise science right there, Bob. That's the one thing I'll take away from taking that in grade 12. Anyway, Mark, thank you for your time today. Safe travels home. Get that hip on ice. Glad you're okay, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Adam. You guys are the best. I'll text you in a couple days. All
right. Sounds good. That's Mark Zecchino making his way home on one leg, it sounds like.
He's in Louisville. I wonder if he's checking out, going to pick up some new baseball bats. What Louisville's famous for.
Well, he was in Nashville last week, too. I saw you enjoyed some time in Nashville with Mrs. Golf Talk Canada. Nashville, great spot. On the other side, we'll have 20 weeks of TaylorMade, and we'll tee up hour 2. This is GTC.
This segment of GTC, presented by TaylorMade, was brought to you by WeatherTech Canada, Canada's leader in automotive accessories. This is Golf Talk Canada, presented by TaylorMade. This segment of GTC is brought to you by Play Golf Myrtle Beach. No destination in the world can match Myrtle Beach's volume of golf, quality, and value. Come discover why Myrtle Beach is the golf capital of the world.
Wrapping up hour one of GTC, Scully Weeks here in studio, TSN 1050. You can also watch us on TSN 2. Coming up in hour two, we'll take a look at the President's Cup standings. Just over a month away, and we'll have at least one Canadian on that team, very likely. Hopefully more than one. We'll discuss that and all of their chances. We'll also hear from Bill Price from TaylorMade on the high toe 3 wedges. I had a chance to catch up with him recently about that. We're also giving away 2 of those this week on 20 weeks of TaylorMade. It is our second last week of the season. Hard to believe. Plus, we'll have winners, weird and what, and we'll preview our TV special also coming up this Wednesday. All coming up an hour or two right here on Golf Talk Canada.
This segment of GTC, presented by TaylorMade, was brought to you by Play Golf Myrtle Beach. No destination in the world can match Myrtle Beach's volume of golf, quality, and value. Come discover why Myrtle Beach is the golf capital of the world. Thank you for listening to Hour 1 of GTC. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Golf Talk Canada. For show archives, podcasts, and all things GTC, visit golftalkcanada.com. And don't miss Golf Talk Canada Television weekly on the TSN Television Network. This is Hour 2 of Golf Talk Canada, presented by Picton Mahoney Asset Management. For over 15 years, our focus has been on helping Canadians stay invested in all market conditions, including this one. Now, here are your hosts, Mark Zecchino, Bob Weeks, and Adam Scully.
Welcome back inside Hour 2, the back nine here on GTC. Adam Scully alongside Bob Weeks. We're on TSN 1050. You can also watch us on TSN 2 until the top of the hour. Lots to get to in Hour 2. Leaderboard updates from around the world of golf. Winners, weird and what. We'll hear from Bill Price from TaylorMade about the TaylorMade high toe 3 wedges. We'll also talk about a video I put out on social media of me hitting the high toe 3 wedge, and then I chipped into a little target, and I had what I would characterize, Bob, as one of the most awkward-looking fist pumps in the history of fist pumps.
Yeah, it did look a little odd. It was it was okay, but it was almost sort of what's the word? It was very very. If it was a golf swing, you would still be on the one of the minor league tours.
Well, I
not the PGA Tour. Like, the swing looked great.
Yeah, I had some great responses on social media. Someone said it was like I was getting ready to operate a chainsaw.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Someone said it was like I was flushing a toilet.
Oh, I didn't know that one. That's good, though.
I thought was interesting. So really going to work on my fist pump game here, and I appreciate all the feedback. I really do. But hopefully next time when I'm swinging on camera, I can have a bit of an uppercut fist pump or something. Now, one player, Bob, who has had a lot of fist pumps this year is Cameron Smith. And now he has been a lot of controversy around him in regards to whether he's going to go to LIV or not. Is he going to play in the President's Cup or not? And as of right now, on the International President's Cup team standings, Cameron Smith is number 1. And on the FedEx Cup projected standings right now, he is number 3. But as we were just in commercial break, some news broke from his agent that Cameron Smith has withdrawn from this week's BMW Championship. And you might think, this guy is WD'd from this championship. There's thought of, is he going to LIV? His press conference last week was very non-committal, out of no comments. Here is the quote from Cam Smith's agent, and I'm quoting him here. Unfortunately, Cam will be unable to compete at the BMW Championship this week. He has been dealing with some on and off hip discomfort for several months and thought it would be best to rest this week in his pursuit of the FedEx Cup. Interesting timing here, is it not?
It is. The only thing that's kind of weird about it is, I don't know, maybe he just didn't want to face all the barrage of questions, or maybe, like, he's not going to play a LIV event. There's no LIV event until after the playoffs are over. So that's ruled out. We don't have to worry about that. And he said he's playing the President's Cup. So if we take him at his word, maybe he really does have a bad hip. I mean, it could possibly be that he's just ailing and he can't play. He doesn't need to play. He'll make it. If he wants to play the final, he'll be in the final FedEx Cup Tour Championship. So there's no real reason there. But obviously, with what's going on, your antennas go up, and you start thinking, maybe he was just mad at the ruling he got. I don't know.
Right, and I mean, as we know, the Tour Championship is a staggered starting leaderboard, so his status will significantly get worse heading into the Tour Championship, where, if you're leading the FedEx Cup Championship, the standings going into the Tour Championship, you're at 10 under par. You have a 2-shot lead over the second place at 8 under, and then it drops all the way down to even par if you're around 30. So as of right now, he's third. So getting 0 points, he'll probably drop to 8th, 9th, 10th.
Yeah, I mean, it's
not worse.
It's hard to figure out, but somewhere in there for sure.
Yeah, so he'll have a steep hill to climb. I mean, it's another layer to this spicy story, we'll call it, on Live. But for Cameron Smith, like you mentioned, though, he did say he is going to play in the President's Cup, taking it on from his word. And the President's Cup is now 35 days away. Hard to believe that it's already 35 days away. And we're going to take a look at the team standings for both sides right now, starting with the international side. So 6 automatic qualifiers, 6 captains selections. For the international side, right as of this moment, Cameron Smith is still at number 1. Hideki Matsuyama, number 2. Sung Jae Im, number 3. Joaquin Niemann, number 4. Tom Kim, what a year this guy has had. What a recent surge of success he's had at number 5. And then Canadian Corey Connors at number 6. Those are the 6 automatic qualifiers. As we go down their standings board, Mito Pereira had that great chance to win the PGA Championship before one of the weirdest swings we've ever seen in the history of golf on the 18th hole in the water, getting out of that playoff, unfortunately. Adam Scott, who's been a stalwart on President's Cup teams in the past. Very quiet year, had a good week last week. He's at number 8. K.H. Lee, number 9. Eric Van Rooyen, Mr. Joggers himself, at number 10. Adam Hadwin at number 11. Sebastian Munoz, number 12. And we should also mention Mackenzie Hughes at 13. Taylor Pendrith at 20. So as of right now, Corey Connors is an automatic qualifier. Do you think we'll see 2 on the team, Canadians?
I think so.
Yeah.
I can't imagine we won't, to be perfectly honest with you. Now, these standings, we should point out, they do a terrible job at updating them. Mm-hmm. So this has one more week to kind of roll. It doesn't have last week's results in it. I don't think there'll be huge changes, but I know I've talked to Trevor Immelman. He's huge on Corey Connors. So whether Corey Connors is an automatic pick or a captain selection, he's going to be on the team. I think they like Adam Hadwin just because if you look at some of these guys, Tom Kim and Mito Pereira, K.H. Lee, there's a bunch of guys who have not been on one of these teams before. So it's always good to have a guy who's got a little experience. This would be Adam Hadwin's 3rd President's Cup if he was selected. Exactly. So I think he's probably a good pick, and I think he's been playing well enough, and he's been playing well enough in the second part of the season. This last week was not a great one, but other than that, he's had a pretty good sort of solid season, and he is a clutch putter. Mackenzie Hughes is a clutch putter too, probably a better putter, but the rest of Mackenzie's game, I don't know how well it would line up in terms of, he's a little spray off the tee, not always, but once in a while, and these are the things I'm sure they're looking at it. But they've also got all these analytics that they're going to look at. They know exactly who pairs well with other people. So that's another reason why Mac Hughes might be a great fit to play with Corey Connors. He might get in there just simply based on that. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm sure Trevor Immelman and the team is going to be working on. Let's not forget also that captain's assistant Mike Weir might be in there lobbying for the guys carrying the Maple Leafs. So a lot can happen in the next 2 weeks. Lots can definitely happen in the next 2 weeks. How far would a win go for if a Canadian can win this week, vault his way up the team standings? That would be just awesome to see. And we were at that President's Cup together back in 2017 at Liberty National, where that was a great event. It was an absolute butt kicking by the U.S. just to say the least. But I remember the look on Adam Hadwin's face throughout the week, and he was just having a great time, even though, losing to Phil Mickelson in that Sunday singles. But some of the team events, he got to play with Hideki Matsuyama, some team chemistry there. And then even at Royal Melbourne, where, that was where that international side really took a turn, where Ernie Els was on board. He was the captain, and they had the new team logo, new team motto, and they just seem like a really different team there. So you wonder if they'll be able to carry that momentum over despite everything else going on in the world of golf, and if they have those star players like Cam Smith playing too. Yeah, I think what Ernie Els did was really try to build this team around. They didn't really have a focus. Like the U.S. is all the same country. You know, they play a lot. The international team has always had it difficult in sort of gelling together as one squad. They got the new logo, the shirts, everything, new colors, and I think that was huge. And I think if the folks who run the President's Cup had their way, they would have coerced Ernie into doing one more year, because he had team dinners together. He had lots of stuff in the build-up to it. It's always tough. There's language differences, and it's not quite as cohesive as the American team, which in a lot of cases guys have played together since junior golf. So it makes it a little bit more difficult, but it was certainly a good step, and I'm sure they would have loved to have Ernie back, but Ernie just said, no, once is more than enough. Yep. So this will be Trevor Immelman, and then the next go-around will obviously be Mike Weir at Montreal.
Royal Montreal, and I'm sure we'll both be there for that. That's going to be incredible. That's going to be incredible to be there at an event, at a golf course like that. So much history at Royal Montreal. But yeah, President's Cup getting underway in 35 days. Now, if you take a look at the U.S. team standings, boy, oh boy, does this look different. Because all the players who have gone to live. So from that Ryder Cup side, who won in record-setting fashion back at Whistling Straits this past September, Bryson DeChambeau was on that team. Brooks Koepka was on that team. Phil Mickelson was a captain's assistant on that team. Of course, Mickelson has been on so many Ryder Cup, President's Cup, team event teams. Obviously, he's not going to be playing anyone anytime soon. But taking a look at the U.S. team standings right now, you have Scotty Scheffler, world number one, at number 1. Patrick Cantlay at 2. Sam Burns at 3. Xander Schauffele at 4. JT, Justin Thomas at 5. Tony Finau at 6. And actually, these have updated. So the U.S. team standings...
the U.S. ones are updated. The international ones are not yet on this list. So
interesting.
Unless they just happened. But yeah, I noticed it.
Yeah, because so Will Zalatoris has moved up to 7th. Jordan Spieth at number 8. I'll have much more on Spieth in my winners weird and what. What a strange time he's been having right now. Colin Morikawa at number 9. Love seeing Max Homa at 10. He's had a great year. Billy Horschel at number 11. Cameron Young at number 12. So when the U.S. had that dominating performance at the Ryder Cup, we had the conversation the next day. You made the point on SportsCenter that night that the next President's Cup, we could see the international side be much more competitive than the Europeans do in the Ryder Cup, President's Cup for the next number of years. But given how the U.S., they've lost some players, but there's now so many other guys rising up the ranks.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this American team standings as of right now?
You know, it's kind of interesting. We were talking about that earlier in the show, how Will Zalatoris and Scotty Scheffler 4 years ago were nowhere to be seen. And now, you know, this is the same kind of scenario. You look at some of these guys who weren't around the last time, Cameron Young and Max Homa and Will Zalatoris, and you can see these guys. You can go down here. You could probably put the next 12 guys on the page and not have a bad team either. So it's just the time right now where the U.S. has such a huge crop of good young players all fighting to get in. Now, the two differences between the two teams are going to be that there's 6 picks for the U.S. team. There's only 4 picks for the international team. So 6 picks is a lot, and that gives Davis Love a lot of stuff to try to work around with, what they want to do, how they want to mold it, what they want to shape it as. I mean, I just think that they can. I mean, you look at some of these guys down here. Kevin Kisner at 15, what a clutch putter he is. Yeah. You know, so you could just hand pick a team here out of anywhere in the top 20. And I think you'd have a really good shot at making the run through to knock these international team off. Unfortunately, the international team has some great players on it, but once you start getting down like to 13, 14, 15, you know, there's some guys in there who you don't know.
Totally. You never know. And I mean, 35 days away now. It's hard to believe that it's coming up so shortly. And can't wait for this to get underway at Quail Hollow. You'll be there. TSN golf analyst Graham Dillette will be there. He had a great showing at the President's Cup himself. Looking forward to hearing his perspective. And I'm sure an essay or two talking about his experience beating Jordan Spieth in the Sunday singles at that tournament. On the other side, we'll switch gears a little bit. 20 weeks of TaylorMade continues throughout the summer. This week, we're giving away 2 of the brand new TaylorMade High Toe 3 wedges. On the other side, we'll hear from TaylorMade's Bill Price all about these new wedges. This is Golf Talk Canada.
This segment of GTC was presented by Picton Mahoney Asset Management. For over 15 years, our focus has been on helping Canadians stay invested in all market conditions, including this one. This is Golf Talk Canada, presented by Picton Mahoney Asset Management. This segment of GTC is brought to you by the Muskoka Bay Club and Resort. Live, stay, and play.
Welcome back inside Golf Talk Canada. Adam Scully alongside Bob Weeks. We're on TSN 1050 as well. You can watch us on TSN2 until the top of the hour if you are listening live. I should mention that as well. But for all our loyal listeners and fans of the show, you know that 20 weeks of TaylorMade goes on throughout the summer. Each week we give away some sort of TaylorMade product, whether it's a driver, iron sets, 6 dozen golf balls, the works. This week we're giving away 2 of the all-new TaylorMade High Toe 3 wedges. So much technology jam-packed into this product. For much more on this, I recently had a chance to catch up with TaylorMade's Bill Price. TaylorMade to discuss the TaylorMade High Toe 3 wedges. So much technology in this newest edition of High Toe. But first, for someone who isn't aware of what High Toe is all about, give us a summary of how it first came to be in 2018.
Yeah, great question there, Adam. We a few years back, we started meeting with all the players, and one of the things we were on a search for was around the greens. Is there a wedge that can hit all the shots? And what's your worst shot that you have, or your nightmare? And what is it that we could do a better job at? And there were so many questions about this type of shot, or this type of condition, or this type of bunker, or grass, soft, firm. And it was, at the end of the day, it was, their difficulty with, and there was one in particular that I was talking about was, when the balls, especially in Kikuyu, when it's sitting up high and you have that wedge shot there and you're hitting it inconsistent. And a lot of it was, they were hitting it more on the toe shot side of things. So it was all around that. And we talked about what type of sole designs that were going to be needed to help hit all these different shots. And at the end of the day, it was more of a full camber. First off, they talked about camber both from heel to toe, front to back. So a lot of camber. They all talked about being able to slide this club under the ball. We talked about a low leading edge to handle all the different shot characteristics. And so combination of low leading edge, lots of camber, and a somewhat, they didn't ask for this, but more of a wider sole. So that's really the secret behind what High Toe has been. Now, that's the sole. But then at the end of the day, they were all about the higher toe. So we talked about, well, how high should that toe be, or how tall should that toe be? And so we looked at different versions. So if you look at a wedge today, a typical wedge is, let's call it about 62 millimeters. We looked at about 66, 68, 70. We looked at a lot of different sizes, and we landed on this where we are today. So that was really important. To have a little bit higher toe, because they like to open that face up, especially what I talked about, having that ball where it sits up sometimes in the high grass. So that was part of the design of the High Toe, and then we called it High Toe. And then the last piece of the puzzle, what I challenged the guys is, should it have full length scoring lines all the way across the face? And that was an automatic yes. It needs to have the full length scoring lines, because like we talked about, there is a tendency to hit it towards the high on the toe. So they wanted to make sure that they had scoring lines out there. So it was really designed with all the players, development from all the different players, and input from all the different things that they were trying to do to help their game. So
lots of information there, but now on to High Toe 3. Tell us about some of the new features with this new great wedge.
So one of the things, Adam, we kept all the good stuff that we've done for the last couple of years the same. So we didn't touch the sole. So same sole designs. What we did do, though, is add a few more bounce options to the design of High Toe 3. So we added some more bounce options that the players have asked for. So we have a low bounce and a high bounce, a 7, a 10, and a 13 bounce. So we added that, but keep everything else the same high toe, the same full length scoring lines, the same sole treatment of the wide sole, a lot of camber. We just did a couple little tweaks here and there, especially with the 54. We added full length scoring lines across the face. We didn't have it before, but the big also change is the weight pad that's just fine on the toe on the backside. So that really is trying to get that launch down, but the player's always looking for. So a lower launch with a little bit more spin.
You mentioned the 54 and expanding the full length scoring lines, now extending to wedges 54 degrees and higher. What were some of the reasons behind that?
So there seems to be a movement lately in the last few years. We've always had traditional wedges, 52, 56, 60. It seems it's shifting downward a little bit to I call the more modern purchase, which is a 50, 54, 58. We're seeing a lot more players in there. And it really, for consumers, it's a great idea because their sets and their set wedges are very strong today. So you really got to pay attention to the gapping. So it does make sense. So the new modern approach is 50, 54, 58. Now, we did have full-length score lines in 56 because the players said that they do have a tendency to open up their 56. So they'd like to see full-length score lines. But in our old designs, we used to keep kind of a standard score line in 54. But with this movement happening, it was important to, the players said, let's get full-length score lines in 54.
And there's also a higher center of gravity in the new high toe 3, correct? So what are some of the benefits of this?
So one of the things that's dependent upon who you talk to, but you look at the launch characteristics of what Tour does versus, say, the average golfer, and you'll look at a number. There's some can be 20 degrees of difference in launch between, say, an average player versus a Tour player on a 60-degree wedge, and a lot of it is how they deliver that angle of attack. But they're all looking for a lower launch with high spin. That's the combination. So low launch, high spin, so that they can hit those shots in there, especially what they're playing is these very tight, tucked pins. So being able to lower that launch is something that we're trying to achieve. And we were able to do that with that weight pad that's on the high toe 3.
And now all of these changes for high toe 3 are all aimed for increasing versatility for all kinds of shots in all kinds of conditions, correct?
Across the board.
Yeah.
And, so I always get the question, what's the perfect wedge setup from TaylorMade? I would say, it depends upon who you are, but you can have MG in the low lofts, but a high toe, I think, is the most versatile wedge across the board for all golfers. Now, the one addition that we're doing is we always had this copper finish. We call it an aged copper. That's always been part of the legacy of what high toe has always been, but we are adding for the first time a chrome version that'll be out in the spring. So a chrome version, because there's been a lot of requests that consumers as well as Tour players like to have the same finish in their low lofts as their high lofts. So we are going to offer that in the spring.
You mentioned a bunch of finishes too, and there are some customizable options coming up here as well with the My High Toe 3 as well. Is that correct?
True. We can do raw, we can do black, we can do of course chrome. The more successful one is always chrome and raw. Raw is very popular. We do offer a full raw on the My program, so the whole head is raw. And our story at retail though with high toe and is just we raw the face. So we remove all the excess material on there. We want that to rust. We want that to add a little bit more friction. That's the spin that we talk about, because I think it rains up in Canada. So my son's been up there playing on the Canadian tour, and all he talked about was how much rain it does up here in Canada. So part of the thing that you'll see in his set is he's a big believer now with all that rain about how the spin can change in wet conditions versus dry conditions. And why you want to have raw face is because it's going to, if you don't have raw, you're going to lose about 50% of that spin. And no player wants to have that type of reduction in spin. But, it just doesn't have to rain to have that. All it takes is just a little bit of dew in the morning, and you get a little bit of that dew on your golf ball, and that ball slides up the face. Your launch goes up anywhere between 4 to 5, 6 degrees, and your spin is cut in half. So raw will eliminate about 20 to 25% of that. So now instead of losing 50, you might be losing 25% of that spin, but and your launch isn't reduced, is not cut in half like it is today. So yeah, you got to be careful about what water can do or what type of mist can do to a golf ball or to the face, and what that does to your spin and launch numbers.
Well, so much technology jam-packed into this brand new wedge, the High Toe 3 from TaylorMade. Bill, thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Adam.
TaylorMade. That's Bill Price from TaylorMade discussing the TaylorMade High Toe 3 wedges. Really enjoyed the chance to hit those new wedges, and you can also hit them too. All you have to do, follow Golf Talk Canada, TaylorMade Canada, Twitter, Instagram, tag your golfing buddies in our post, and you'll be in the draw to win. So very exciting times for 20 weeks of TaylorMade. On the other side, speaking of exciting times, it's winners, weird, and what? This is Golf Talk Canada.
This segment of GTC, presented by Picton Mahoney Asset Management, was brought to you by the Muskoka Bay Club and Resort. Live, stay, and play. This is Golf Talk Canada, presented by Picton Mahoney Asset Management. This segment of GTC is brought to you by Cadillac. Experience the iconic Cadillac sedans and SUVs in a personalized live video tour with all your questions answered in real time. Book your tour at Cadillac.live.
Welcome back inside Golf Talk Canada. Adam Scully alongside Bob Weeks. We're on TSN 1050 as well. You can watch us on TSN2 if you're listening or watching live until the top of the hour. We'll have all the latest on 20 weeks of TaylorMade and leaderboard updates on the other side. But now, Bob, it's our favorite time of the show. It's winners, weird, and what? And this week, sir, you have the tea.
So what do I do? Just aim for the pond?
No, you're not supposed to hit it into the water.
But you hit it into the water.
I know I hit it into the water.
Well, why do they even have water if you're not supposed to hit it there?
Because it's fun! We're having fun! Ah!
Look, it went further than your ball.
We sort of teased it off the top of the show, but up on the weekend I was up in cottage country and playing a little golf on a golf course called Muskoka Highlands. Lovely little track. And it is the first course that I've ever played where it's dog friendly. So you can bring your dog on the course with you. And my buddy has a dog that loves to go out and walk and will walk for long distances. And I thought, when he told me this, I thought, okay, that's kind of strange. Isn't the dog going to like chase the golf ball or anything? But no, it was well behaved. But I bet you there were between 10 and 15 groups that I saw that day where there was a dog walking around on the golf course. And it almost seems a natural thing. Like, why wouldn't you bring your dog out if the dog can handle 18 holes? One little dog was in a cart riding along beside the owners of it, I guess. And a lot of other bigger dogs are running around. They can find shade in a lot of different places. It was kind of a cool experience. Have you ever seen a dog on a golf course other than the one chasing the geese away?
I have not seen any dogs on the golf course. Did you see any dog strollers out there?
No dog strollers.
Okay.
No dogs driving the carts.
Okay, that's probably good. Now, we almost buried the lead here a little bit because you had quite a round going as well during your jaunt around Muskoka Highlands.
Yeah.
Other than the 18th hole, you played some great golf.
I finished up bogey par triple for 77, which was a nice good day for me, but I had a good
Getting
good
hot
round.
in here.
I wasn't even the low man in my group. I was two other guys. One I had was a 76, another buddy was a nice 69. So
my goodness.
Good for them. Good day all around. Got a little warm. Now, that having been said, how I love the dogs on the golf course, I think that was fantastic. As long as the dogs can behave, of course.
Yes.
Can't have them running amok or, as I said, chasing the golf balls on the green or something like that. The other story that they had up at this, which is kind of the weird, is I don't know if you remember it's probably 10 years ago now. Mark King, who was then the head of TaylorMade, came up with this idea about how golf courses were going to have to this is when we were all talking about golf on the decline. He said, we're going to have to find other ways to utilize golf courses. And one of the things he came up with was foot golf. Now, foot golf was basically kicking a soccer ball around a golf course, and they have holes on the golf course that you can use to hole your soccer ball. And I had never seen it until yesterday when at Muskoka Highlands, they had foot golf. And this guy came out in his working cart, and he sort of basically pulled what looked like manhole covers out of the ground, and there was a great big large hole in there, and he stuck a flag that said foot golf on it. Now, we didn't actually see anybody playing foot golf, but I'm assuming that maybe later on a Sunday afternoon they would have people come out and play foot golf. I don't know, but I've Have you ever even? I've heard of it, but this is the first time I'd actually ever seen it.
I've never actually heard of this. I've heard of, is it Frisbee golf? I've seen that.
Disc golf.
Disc golf, I've seen that before. I was going to ask what kind of outfits. Like, are they showing up in golf outfits and just kicking a soccer ball around? I don't know.
Yeah, no, nobody was there playing, but it looked like it was interesting. And obviously, if they're having somebody prep the course, as it were, they've got to have some people who are foot golfers up there. So, more power to them.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And then my what is something we've also talked a little bit about. We talked about how good Chambers Bay looked for the U.S. Women's Amateur, but what about a major championship up there? Well, I think it's deserving of another chance to have a major championship. The first U.S. Open there was a bit of a disaster, just more because of course conditions than anything else. But there's no real course now up in the Pacific Northwest where you can hold a tournament, and it's a ripe market. I mean, it's a perfect place to try and key in. The biggest problem now is both the U.S. Open and the PGA Championship, which rotate their tournaments around. There's nothing available till the earliest 2031. They're all locked in for way out in advance. So, I mean, unless you're going to sit there and say, okay, well, we'll give you the 2036 U.S. Open. How do you plan for that? That's a long way away. So maybe they could do something with a President's Cup or something like that along the way.
Well, and you know, like you mentioned as well, too, the court, it just looked radically different than it did back in 2015 when the USGA had clearly lost the greens. They clearly tried to take it. You know, the U.S. Open, they tried to take it to the boundary, to the line. They try not to cross the line. And there was that stretch of time, A, in the early 2000s, and B, in that stretch in the mid-teens of, Chambers Bay at Shinnecock. They lost that golf course in that third round. And a couple other, and you think to like Erin Hills, where that was just sort of a really bizarre setup.
That was a strange one.
That was just very strange. So you hope they do get another chance, because some of the architecture around that golf course at Chambers Bay, it looks incredible. So given what we just saw at the U.S. Women's Amateur, that'd be awesome to see for sure.
It would be good. All right, Mr. Scully, the tee is yours.
348. Oh man, that is sweet.
Okay, thanks, Bob. My winner this week goes to Mr. Justin Thomas, who had a solid week at the FedEx St. Jude Championship, finishing tie for 13th. But it was what he did on social media that makes him my winner this week. And he tweeted out on August 11th, "Had a conversation with my fiance last night, some of the players at the course today. And my thoughts are, how long would it take me to run a mile? No training, just a random Tuesday. I go out, run 1 mile as fast as I can. Brackets, I'm very slow. What could I run it at?" Now, before I ask you about this, he also followed up on his own tweet saying, "Shout out to 2 answers today, one of which being Jordan Spieth saying you could do it in under 10 minutes. Thanks a lot, man." And at the other end of the spectrum, Sam Burns thinking long and hard about 6 minutes. I like you more than I thought, Sam. Now, Bob, you're a runner. You have more running experience than I ever will. Like, what's a good mile time? Like, is it 8 minutes? Is it 9 minutes?
Well, it depends on if you're going to run 26 of them in a marathon, or you're running just one. I think he's just running one. So, like, for me, my mile pace is somewhere between, I don't know how, we usually do it on kilometers. It's mostly somewhere between 7 and 8 minutes for a mile. 5:30 basically is my marathon pace. But I could run faster than that if I was only going 1 mile.
Right.
But if he's never really trained, but he's in good shape. So he's young, he's flexible. I would think 6.5 minutes he should be able to do it, between 6.5 to 7 minutes, depending on a lot of things. But I would guess that would be where I would put it.
Well, I remember back in my prime when I was a hockey player, we used to do these 3-mile runs in Erie because, being in the States, it was a mile thing to do. And I would do those in about 23.5 minutes, I think.
23, yeah, 3 miles. I thought you meant 1 mile and 23.5 minutes.
Man, you're slow. How did you play?
Did you walk? Or
I walked backwards, actually. But the funniest was on Twitter, our dear friend Harry Higgs replied to JT's tweet saying, "Now the real question is, how fast could I run it in?" So I think we have a make for TV special. You have JT, you have Harry Higgs, maybe you get Sam Burns and Jordan Spieth.
How about O-Dog and Al's brother? Remember they had the 100-meter dash or the 100-yard dash?
No, that was must-see TV. That was some foot speed right there.
That was definitely some
That was
foot
quick.
Speed.
That was something. But I think maybe you're involved too. Like you're running as well. Mark Zucchino ran yesterday. He ran from the 18th to the 11th.
Oh yeah, that's That's right.
I think it's an automatic. We get these guys together and make someone happen. But anyway, good for JT. And I'm curious how fast he would actually run a mile. Okay, my weird this week. The drama. There was so much drama around Scotty Sheffler and Cameron Smith. Oh, he walked through his line. Oh my goodness. Let's call the cops. Oh my, people thought when you first saw this, so this was Thursday during the first round, it looked at first glance that Scotty Sheffler walked directly through Cameron Smith's line, and Cameron Smith gave the look up saying, what are you doing? But upon further review, Sheffler misses a putt, and he walked between Smith and his ball. So behind Smith's ball. He walked past him as Smith was reading a putt, but he was probably 8 feet behind his ball, 6 feet behind his ball. So it wasn't like he was stomping in his line and walking through saying, you're going to live. No, here you go. But this was just so... It was so much exaggeration, I think. And even on the broadcast the next day, Sheffler and Smith were laughing. They were almost going to reenact it just for fun. Right. I thought this was just so over the line.
Yeah, I think everyone's looking for the fuse to light on anything that goes on. I mean, it's the same sort of thing now with Cam Smith withdrawing this week. Maybe he really does have a hip injury, folks. It could be that he's sore. So I don't know. It's hard to sort of defuse things or deflate some of these things like that, and certainly social media gives it a lot of oomph.
It certainly does give it a lot of oomph, but we don't really see much drama on the golf course ever. We saw Miguel Angel Jimenez and Keegan Bradley almost come to blows, sort of, kind of, at a match play event about 8 years ago now. But anyway, that was the drama on the golf course for this week at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. And speaking of drama, that goes to my what, and that's more of on the playing side of things. What is going on with Jordan Spieth? This guy has had a lot of swing. He's trying to change up his swing a little bit. He's got the really interesting, awkward pre-shot routine going on. But this goes to a video after his first round at the in Memphis, where he was hitting some balls in the range, and there was a camera there. And Justin Thomas was also filming him and also giving him swing tips. I mean, I know they're good buddies. We know all about that. But it's rare to see two PGA pros almost working together. Is that not strange?
It's not that strange, except that the fact that he's filming it takes it to another level. Like a lot of times guys will sort of say, can you have a look at me, see what you see here? And for instance, Steve Stricker is known as kind of a putting guru. So he will help guys out with it. He's helped Tiger out with the putting thing. So it's not that unusual, but to take it to the extent with the camera, I don't know, that seems like it's almost, he should be collecting a check as a swing instructor.
Add him to the payroll, I guess, right? But I mean, Jordan Spieth, he has had a weird year. It's been a weird couple of years. He won earlier this year at the RBC Heritage, came top 10 at the Open, the Scottish Open as well. So he has played some good golf, but 70-74 this past week at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. It's been a puzzling time in the career of Jordan Spieth. That's for sure. Okay, on the other side, we'll wrap up today's show. We'll have the latest on 20 weeks of TaylorMade. We'll tell you how you can win 2 TaylorMade High Toe 3 wedges, plus our grand prize gets underway very shortly too. Hard to believe, 20 weeks of TaylorMade coming to an end and yet another great golf season. This is Golf Talk Canada.
This segment of GTC, presented by Picton Mahoney Asset Management, was brought to you by Cadillac. Cadillac. Experience the iconic Cadillac sedans and SUVs in a personalized live video tour with all your questions answered in real time. Book your tour at Cadillac.live. This is Golf Talk Canada, presented by Picton Mahoney Asset Management. This segment of GTC is brought to you by Adidas Golf and the all-new Tour 360 22. Tour 360 22 sits on the feet you wear last, serving as the foundation for the all-new Tour 360 fit, while the new direct-injected Spike More traction system will help golfers stay locked in.
Wrapping up our edition of Golf Talk Canada here, Adam Scully alongside Bob Weeks on TSN 1050 and TSN 2. That Adidas billboard gave me a little reminder of something we can't say too much about right now, but coming up in just over a month, you'll see a lot of things on our social media page, and let's just say it's going to be interesting to see what will be coming out from our friends at Adidas. Really looking forward to that in just over a month's time. But let's get to some leaderboard updates. Leaderboard updates are brought to you by Bushnell Golf, the #1 #1 rangefinder in golf. The LPGA Tour was in Ireland this past week, where Maya Stark ran away with it. A 5-shot victory, a 63 in her final round, a 5-shot victory. Congratulations to Maya. On the Corn Ferry Tour, Robbie Shelton at the Pinnacle Bank Championship, a 1-shot victory over Ben Taylor, Kevin Doherty, Taylor Montgomery, Michael Kim among those in the top 10. Did we have any Canadians in the mix? It looks like no Canadians, unfortunately, made the cut there. On PGA Tour Canada, they had a week off, but this week is the Manitoba Open. 2 weeks ago, Ryan Gerard won the Quebec Open, the second consecutive wire-to-wire winner on PGA Tour Canada after they went 5 years without a wire-to-wire champion. He's actually going to join us on our Wednesday TV special on Golf Talk Canada. We recap his victory and what's next for Ryan Gerard. He's currently fourth, I should say, in their Fortinet Cup standings, which is a new thing for PGA Tour Canada this year. Awesome victory by Ryan. PGA Tour FedEx St. Jude Championship. Will Zalatoris, first career PGA Tour victory after struggling in the first round of 71. He followed it up with rounds of 63, 65, and 66. Some incredibly clutch putts down the stretch by Will Zalatoris to get it done. As for the DP World Tour, I had that somewhere here. I think I've actually lost that now on my computer. But, oh, no, here it is right here. The Honda World Invitational presented by AVIV Clinics, also in Ireland. Ewan Ferguson gets it done. A 3-shot victory over Connor Syme and Borja Verto. He was 12 under par for his 4 rounds. Of course, Bob, 20 weeks of TaylorMade continues. Second last week of the season. Later today, we will be giving away 2 TaylorMade High Toe 3 wedges. You just heard all about those wedges with Bill Price a little earlier in the show. You might ask, how do you win? It's pretty simple. All you have to do, follow Golf Talk Canada, follow TaylorMade Canada, Twitter, Instagram, tag your golfing buddies. You'll be in the draw to win. And Bob, it's hard to believe that another season has essentially come and gone because our grand prize, we're giving it away next week.
It's unbelievable. What a great prize it is. And as you said, things are starting to wind up. We got the PGA Tour with 2 more weeks to the regular season. PGA Tour Canada, I was just looking. They've got the Manitoba Open. Then they're going to that event in Minnesota, which was scheduled before they had the shutdown. Off to Kelowna after that, and then the Fortinet Cup in Kitchener for this. So there's still a pretty healthy swing here where things can happen on PGA Tour Canada. And I'm going to go out to that Deer Ridge and see what we can see out there, because it should be a good finish to the season there. But as you said, 20 weeks of TaylorMade wrapping up, PGA Tour wrapping up. It doesn't feel like fall out there.
No.
I don't know. I haven't felt that.
No,
still kind of warm, still kind of sunny.
I will say there were a couple days last week where the temperature really dropped after 8 or 9 o'clock, where the week previous it was 150 degrees Celsius outside and it was steamy and smoggy that way. But it's not quite feeling like fall yet, although summer always goes by too quickly.
And then we get to September and it's usually a little bit better. Maybe we get a little fall.
I do have to say,
summer.
I love playing golf in September in the GTA. It might be my favorite. Sometimes where maybe you start with a pullover on, or you got the pants going, and then by the time you're on the 4th or 5th hole, the sun's out, guns are out, and you're ready to rock out there. But speaking of fall golf, I have to give a shout out to my home course, Bayview Golf and Country Club. We are currently going through a rerouting trial process.
That's cool. I mean, it's interesting.
Very interesting. So we're now starting on our original 10th hole and having a bit of a different rotation. I encourage everyone out there, have an open mind about it. Have some fun. Give it a go. You're still playing the same 18 holes. But, Bob, I got to try it out for the first time this week. And for those who know Bayview well, the first 2 holes of the original rotation are par 5s. Now they're number 10 and number 11.
4 and 5.
Yes, correct. And now for me, the first time doing and playing the new rotation, I did happen to go eagle birdie on those 2 holes. The players I was playing with, they were not very happy with me because my handicap should have been a little lower. Of course, I made some bogeys and doubles coming in down the stretch. But really enjoying this new process. And to everyone, please keep an open mind about this. Okay, TV this Wednesday, 1 p.m. TSN 4. We'll recap Monet Chun's performance at the
Yes.
U.S. Women's Amateur, the significance of making it this far, and also what's next, because she's going to be playing at the CP Women's Open, the U.S. Women's Open as well next year, and just the significance of making it as far as she did, the 4th ever Canadian to make the final, which was an awesome performance. We'll also hear, like I mentioned, from Ryan Gerard, who won the Quebec Open on PGA Tour Canada, and we'll have a full preview of the BMW Championship, where, as of right now, Bob, there are 4 Canadians still in the mix to have a chance to win the FedEx Cup.
It would be kind of cool to see them put up, and I know there's a lot on the line, and we were talking about earlier. They've got some. This is essentially, if they don't make it to the top 30, this is their last chance to get some President's Cup points on the board. So they're gonna announce the captain's picks on August 29th, right after the Monday after the FedEx Cup winds up. So. I know for all 4 of those guys, well, certainly for the top 3 in Hadwin, Hughes, and Connors, this has been a big thing on their to-do list, and they've really been trying to make this and live up to their goals, and we'll see what happens.
And there's so much that comes from just making the Tour Championship too.
Yeah.
So it would be it'd be awesome to see them go on. And we've seen some Canadians playing in the Tour Championship in years past. You know, Corey Connors and Mackenzie Hughes most notably. So let's see 1 or 2 Canadians, maybe all 4 of them. Let's see what they can do this week at the BMW Championship. But again, we're back TSN4 Wednesday at 1 p.m. That's when our giveaway starts. Our grand prize giveaway, a trip for 2 to Casa de Campo, as well as a full set of TaylorMade golf clubs. Our grand prize is valued at over $10,000.
Amazing.
You just love to see that. Bob, thanks for a great show today.
As always, Adam, thank you.
We will see you Wednesday at 1 p.m. on TSN4. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to everyone for watching. And remember, the first good decision on the golf course always starts in the closet.
This segment of GTC, presented by Picton Mahoney Asset Management, was brought to you by Adidas Golf and the all-new Tour 360 22. Tour 360 22 sits on the feet you wear last, serving as the foundation for the all-new Tour 360 Fit, while the new direct-injected Spike More traction system will help golfers stay locked in. Thank you for listening to GTC. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Golf Talk Canada. For show archives, podcasts, and all things GTC, visit golftalkcanada.com. And don't miss Golf Talk Canada Television weekly on the TSN Television Network.